And with no end to the bomb hoax threat menace, the government has swung into action with high-level meetings being held to look into the issue and address the situation. Over 100 flights have received fake bomb threats through social media in a week's time, and this has resulted in delays in flight operations, disruption in schedules and anxiety amongst passengers as well as airlines. A high-level meeting was held at the Ministry of Home Affairs office in Delhi. Sources say that in the meeting, CISF Director General R.S. Bhatti, BCAS Director General Zulfikar Hassan have apprised the Union Home Secretary Govt Mohan about the hoax threats and a probe into it so far as well. Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu has also addressed a press briefing and informed about the steps being taken by the government to put an end to the hoax bomb threats. Confirming Times Now's newsbreak, the Aviation Minister has announced the government's plans to amend two Civil Aviation Safety Acts as well as adding hoax callers to the no-fly list. The government will also make hoax calls to airlines a cognizable offence, which will allow police to arrest a suspect without a warrant and initiate investigation without a court order.
You said that you're going to make some amendments. Will there be some financial penalty or any jail term for the...
No, that is what we are making it a cognizable offence. So based on that amendment, there is going to be a punishment and also fine also. Aircraft security rules is something which deals with the security aspect when it comes to within the aircraft, how do we deal with the security issues, concerns, and there is a strict rules that have been laid out. And we have seen that if you can do a little amendment there, it can specifically strengthen the cause which we are fighting for right now. So one of the idea that we want to propagate by changing these rules is, once we catch hold of the perpetrator who is behind this, we want to put them in the no-fly list. And with that idea or with that thought process, we are trying to amend the aircraft security rules, which is already there. We feel that there is some betterment that we can do, and with our discussions, we are trying to amend it.
Let's take this across to our reporters. Akanksha, in fact, is joining us as well as Nikhil. Akanksha, at the press conference earlier today, you saw that the government is planning to change the rules. Of course, Times Now and Nikhil had broken that story earlier as well. And what is very significant is that there would be now a penalty. People who make these calls will not go unpunished.
Well, absolutely, Madhav. See, there have been spate of such incidents in the last 1 week. There have been diversions as well as delays as multiple flights got such threats. And thankfully, all of those threats turned out to be hoax. But as far as the ministry is concerned, they are monitoring the situation. And they said, in fact, all hands are on deck. They've been holding meetings after meetings, not just with DGCA, but also with Ministry of Home Affairs, which is also looking into the angle of cyber security and also CAS. In fact, I'm standing outside the office of Director General Bureau of Civil Aviation Security, and in fact today the Ministry of Home Affairs held a meeting with the DG of BCAS. But as far as the concrete action is concerned, Ministry has said that this is not enough, meetings are not enough, there should be some sort of deterrence, and that is why they are now quote unquote thinking of legislative action. What that would mean is that they would amend two rules. One of them is aviation security rule. That would mean that in fact, after that, it is amended. The perpetrator will be put on no-fly list for extended period of time. There also, he will also be penalized. There will be jail time. There will also be, in fact, the fine which will be imposed on
all
such
right, stay with us, Akanksha, because meanwhile, a fresh threat has been issued by designated Khalistani terrorist Gurpatpan Singh Pannun. The founder of proscribed terror outfit Seeks for Justice has released a video on social media warning people against travelling on Air India flights from the 1st of November and the 19th. In fact, Pannun has said that attack could take place on Air India flights during this period, which coincides with the 40th anniversary of the 1984 anti-Sikh riots. Remember that Pannun had issued a similar hoax threat last year as well. The NI had filed a case against him in November 2023 under sections of the UAPA, booking him and his outfit Seeks for Justice for attempts to target and disrupt transportation sector in India. Here's how the Civil Aviation Minister responded to the fresh threat from Pannun.
फ्रेश थ्रेट मिले हैं सर फॉर जस्टिस की तरफ से नवंबर में बोला गया है कि लोग अवॉइड करें एयर इंडिया ट्रैवल करने के लिए ये सिमिलर थ्रेट लास्ट ईयर भी नवंबर को ही दिया गया था
We don't look at one airline as specific. Any airline, any kind of threat is a threat for us. So that is why I'm saying that at the airports itself we have increased the surveillance and increased this thing. So we want every air travel, every airline to be safe.
Let's go across to Nikhil. Nikhil, this is very, very significant because in the midst of all of these hoax threats, now comes this particular threat from SFJ. Pannun has made similar threats in the past. How seriously is the government going to take this?
Well, this is something which we also raised to the Civil Aviation Minister Ramo Naidu, and he has said that this is being taken as one of the collective threat which is being received to other airlines as well. That means no additional measure is being taken to deal with the situation. But if you go by the detail, and this is something which has been mentioned by you, Madhav, in the very first place, that this is not the first time when Gurpatwant Singh Pannu has come out with a similar kind of statement. Last year as well, around the similar time, in the month of November, he raised a similar threat, and for the specific airline only, which goes out to the Air India. So this time around, yet again, he has made the similar threat to the airline, and he has said, and in fact he has gone on to urge to the people not to travel in the Air India aircraft between November 1 to November 19. But it appears like the Ministry of Civil Aviation, they are not taking it as any of the other separate case, because this is the collective treatment which is being given to all of these airlines. But what is even more crucial is that this continues to rise with each passing day. We are reporting.
Well, absolutely. In fact, over 50 at the last count, and that's what's really shocking, because the amount of difficulty that airlines as well as passengers themselves have to undergo is certainly the major issue over here. Akanksha as well, as I'd like to thank both of you for joining us. And let's quickly, of course, take this and tell our viewers about the bomb threats where airlines have followed a standard operating procedure. It's passengers who've suffered, and get a sense of the inconvenience to the passengers in the last 1 week. Let's also go across to, amongst our other guests, a passenger who traveled from Bengaluru to New York via Mumbai on the 13th of October. It was Air India flight AI 119, which also received a bomb threat. Akshobhya Vijay Simha is a passenger on that Air India flight who's joining us. Also with us is Jitendra Bhargav, former ED of Air India. We also have Sanjay Lazar, aviation expert and CEO of the Avialaz company. We have Captain Amit Singh, who's founder of Safety Matters Foundation, joining us on the broadcast. Let me start first and foremost with Akshobhya Vijay Simha. Take us through what was going on aboard that particular flight, because the delays and landing at an unfamiliar country where perhaps many of the passengers didn't even have visas on. What really was the atmosphere within the cabin, Akshobhya, if you can describe for our viewers?
Yeah, firstly, thanks a lot for having me over. I was on a flight on Sunday, October 13th from Bangalore to JFK via Mumbai. And fortunately for us, when the crew announced that we would be diverted because of a bomb threat, fortunately for us, we were diverted to Delhi. So since a lot of us are Indian passport holders, we didn't have to worry a lot about the visa because we were diverted to a city in the same country. And when the announcement was made, it took a little time for the information to sink in, because most people were just settling down or sleeping. And it was easy to assume if the security threat was on the plane, or it could be on one of the areas we were flying over, because there were a few diversions in Europe as well due to other political reasons. So we didn't know what could be the actual reason. And we were diverted to Delhi, and only when we landed, we knew that it was a threat related to the very aircraft we were on, because the crew instructed us to rapidly exit the aircraft without grabbing any baggage. And I was very humbled to see that people were not pushing each other or nudging each other. All they were saying was move, move, move. And there was a sense of slight fear, but there was no sense of
And how many hours was your transport finally delayed? How many hours were you late by the time you reached your final destination?
Oh, that was exactly 24 hours, because the security combing of the luggage and even the personnel on the plane took about 6.5 hours. That is roughly between 4 a.m. when we were diverted and supposed to land in Delhi, all the way through around 11 to 12 local time. And then in the afternoon, we were told that we are getting a flight 5 a.m. the next day. So basically, I was delayed by 24 hours.
Right. Let me also bring in some of the other panelists who are with us. Jitendra Bhargav is also with us. He's a former director of ED of Air India. Jitendra Bhargav, what really can be done? The government, of course, saying that they're going to change the law, going to include passengers in no-fly list, jail term, penalty, etc., to make it a more serious offence. But the point is, what further beyond this can be done? Because at the end of the day, neither airlines nor the government can take any threat lightly.
You know what the government has done in the past 6-7 days is to come out with a series of measures, like if they nab the culprit, they'll put them on the no-fly list, they'll have more security checks, they will deploy more air marshals, and a whole lot of things the government has been announcing. But is that enough? That's my question. Because the risk calibration that the government has spoken about, that it's not mandatory, it will not be mandatory, that every time a hoax call comes in, that the plane has to be diverted and land at the nearest airport. What the country is looking forward to is the demonstrable evidence of government's ability to catch or track the call from where it has originated and catch the culprit. You will agree with me that there has been no statement to this effect. We haven't been able to arrest anyone, barring the Rajnan juvenile boy, in the first few days of the prank call that he made for 3 calls, 3 aircraft. What are we looking for? Now, that is what my question to the government has been, irrespective of what the civil aviation minister says, because aviation industry is a victim. The question is, calls are emanating from somewhere. From where are they making? Who's making these calls? We got to catch them.
Right.
Now, on this, there has been a very mysterious silence on the part of the government, which is very, very baffling to me. I would like the government to come forth and give it, like I'm concerned, there are any number of passengers who will be equally concerned, that let's get government's ability to nab them. And only if the government has the capability to nab them in the shortest possible time will it act as a deterrent to the man who's making these calls, irrespective of it, whether it's a prank call, a hoax call, or it's going to really materialize into a major tragedy.
All right. Let me get in some of the other experts on this. In fact, Sanjay Lazar, that's a very pertinent question, because at the end of the day, you know, as citizens, we want to know that our agencies are able to, you know, do justice to whoever, whether it's a genuine perpetrator, whether it's a prank caller or a hoax caller, that whoever it is, at least the government is aware of where the threat is emanating from. Apart from that one particular case of a juvenile, as mentioned earlier by Mr. Bhargav, do you think that we are much the wiser? Do you think the government is deliberately keeping quiet? What really is going on?
Thank you, Madhav, for having me. And I completely agree with Mr. Bhargav that, you know, I don't see that we are any the wiser. But I'm very happy that finally, you know, what I've been saying for almost 6 days or a week, that this should come under the Ministry of Home Affairs. Let them look at it, because you need the NIA to talk to the NSA in the USA, to talk to, you know, MI6 and all these agencies to track these, because obviously these calls are being spoofed, or they're using VPNs from abroad and they're bouncing off various countries. We have, you know, maybe for all you know, the Indian intelligence agencies, let's give them that credit, have already, you know, dug out below the surface and found somebody, and they're keeping it very hush-hush. But, you know, it would serve a great deal of interest and build confidence amongst the people and the flyers if the government were to announce that they used some technology, or they've used some, you know, cyber police or something to track down these guys. It's a bigger thing that you need to track down, make somebody responsible for this, not those kids. I mean, those kids are just 3 calls and we don't even know what their intent was. Let's get to the bottom of this. We've got 100+ flights. Absolutely. Airlines have bled crores and we are still, you know, groping. We'll change the rules. That's all prospective. But let's also show that we are, you know, we are talking in terms of being a nuclear superpower. If we can't tackle this, I mean,
absolutely. That's a very pertinent question. And Captain Amit Singh, you have been working on safety issues. Security here is a major issue of concern given what the government has announced. Is this enough? What more needs to be done?
You have to understand the background and the philosophy and psychology of it. It started off maybe with a prank call. Juvenile was arrested. Then it started off, then it built up to a number of calls, maybe piggybacking on the juvenile. And now Pannun has pitched in, maybe the timing is circumspect. So looking at it, you have to see that the objective is to create widespread fear and mayhem. So that obviously has not been achieved. People are still traveling. People are resilient. Indians have seen terrorism close up. And that kind of fear is not there as compared to what would have happened in other countries. So that is why the threat level has been increased, giving specific dates, which happened last year also, and nothing happened. So looking at the psychology of it, you have to go back to how fear is created and what happens over a period of time. In the London Blitzkrieg, when the bombing was happening by the Germans, there were 3 circles, basically. When the bombs were falling, people living there were, of course, fearful because they saw people dying and bombs exploding. People on the outer periphery could hear the explosion. There was little fear. And people on the extreme outside could only hear the sirens. So when the sirens went off, people on the outside would go inside the bunkers and then come out after some time. Over a period of time, they kind of enjoyed what was happening. The moment sirens went off, they came out of the bunkers. And so this threat level is kind of tapering out.
Okay.
And that is
it's
why
tapering off. Certainly, of course, very important to see that the government is taking this very, very seriously. Perhaps the law is also going to be changed, as the minister has informed us. But larger question is, what will happen ultimately as far as ensuring passenger safety and the maximum possible reduction as far as the inconvenience to the traveling public is concerned? That's why it is certainly an issue that all of us are in that sense concerned about. Jitendra Bhargav, Sanjay Lazar, Captain Amit Singh and Akshobhya Vijay Sibha, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us this evening.